Part 7th, The Healing Fairy Tale. She stood at the border, barefoot. The ground was cold. Behind her, a field, flat, empty, without a single tree. The sky above the field was low, gray, like a bandage that hadn't been changed in a long time. There was nothing dangerous in the field, simply nothing. Ahead, a forest. The trunks began immediately, without transition. One step and you were inside. The forest wasn't frightening, it was unfamiliar. Or familiar, but forgotten. Like the face of someone you saw in childhood and can't remember the name. The forest wasn't outside, the forest was inside. She had simply finally decided to enter. In her right hand, she held a knife. She didn't remember how it had got there, didn't remember when she had picked it up. It simply was heavy metal with a blade that gleamed dully, the way things gleam when they haven't been sharpened in a long time but can still cut. Her hand gripped the handle habitually, the way you grip something you've been carrying for a long time and forgotten to put down. She looked at the knife, then at the forest. The knife didn't help her enter, but it didn't stop her either. She went in. The forest responded. Not with sound, a team, with tension, as if the very space between the trees contracted when she walked and released slightly when she stopped, as if it wasn't customary to walk here for no reason, as if every step had to be for something. Her body was held together, jaw clenched, stomach pulled in, shoulders raised just enough to be able to retreat at any moment. Breath went flat, shallow, controlled. She walked because standing still was impossible. Standing still, that's when you start to feel. Walking, a task is safe. Somewhere inside, deep in that place that no one touches, something ticked. Not a clock, a number someone had once spoken aloud and her body had remembered. Tick, 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 like a countdown that had begun long before she entered the forest. Then the forest changed. Not immediately, gradually. The trees didn't disappear, but there was more space between them. The ground became softer, the sound quieter, and at some point she noticed she was walking not through a forest, but through nothing. The colors left first. They didn't disappear, they faded. Then the sound left. Then sensation left. Her legs walked, but she didn't feel the ground. The knife in her hand was there, but her hand felt no weight, as if someone had switched the body off, left only the eyes and the thought, I'm here, but I'm nowhere. She stopped. Around her, nothing. Not darkness and not light. Not warmth and not cold. Simply nothing. Emptiness. She knew this emptiness. It came at certain moments, and when the pain became too great, when screaming didn't help, when there was no one nearby who could hear, then something clicked inside, like a switch, and the world ceased to exist. From the emptiness came a voice. Not from behind the trees, from inside, as if someone were speaking directly into her chest, not into her ears, but into that place where the ribs meet. You don't have to go further. The voice was calm, even, the kind of voice people use for things that have long been decided. You can stop right here, lie down, close your eyes, cease. She wasn't frightened. The voice wasn't frightening. It was familiar, the way the smell of home is familiar even if home was not a good place. It came on the darkest nights and offered the one thing that had not yet been tried, to stop. Why keep going if the pain doesn't end? The voice asked. Why breathe if every breath is an effort? Why try if there's no result? Who are you? She asked. I'm the one who is tired. The one who knows that everything has been tried and nothing has helped. I didn't come to kill you. I came because I'm in pain, and I want it to stop. I hear you, she said. Then put everything down and stay here. It doesn't hurt here. Here is nowhere. Nowhere is also a place, sometimes the only place where you can breathe. She stood, knife in hand, voice inside. Then she said, I hear you, but I'm not staying. You've been tired for so long, she said to the voice. You didn't want death. You wanted the pain to stop. That's different. I see you, and I won't leave you here alone. The voice didn't argue, didn't leave, simply fell silent, the way someone falls silent when they haven't been convinced but have nowhere to go. It was inside. It would walk with her, silently, a heavy weight in the chest. The emptiness began to recede. Colors returned slowly. First outlines, then shadows, then the green of moss. Sound returned last, the rustle of her own breathing. From behind a tree stepped a figure, quickly, confidently, tall, straight, with perfect posture, clothes, clean, buttoned all the way up, without a single crease, face, composed, serious, without a smile but without anger either. The perfectionist. Stop, said the figure. You're going the wrong way. Who are you? I'm the one who does things. 12 hours, 7 days, without stopping. I solve problems. I close projects. I get results. Without me, you wouldn't have survived. Without me, no gold medal, no university, no career, not a single morning when you got up even though you didn't want to. I got up for you every time, every day. The voice became faster. Without me, you are nothing. Are you tired? She asked her. The figure blinked once. You can't be tired, said the figure. Being tired means stopping. Stopping means feeling. Feeling means what? Means the other one will come, the one from the emptiness, and then everything I've built will collapse. And if you don't stop? The figure was silent, then quieter, almost a whisper. Then I'm finished. You built while I didn't know how to ask for help, said the girl. You were the only way not to give up. Thank you. Now it's possible to go slower. The figure stood for a moment, then walked behind her. Not alongside, just behind. Still muttering. Step, step, breath, plan, direction. She hadn't had time to get used to the perfectionist behind her when she heard another voice. Not from the chest, from everywhere. You're going the wrong way because you are wrong. You're not trying hard enough. You're not smart enough. You are not enough. The voice was female, old, familiar, so familiar that she didn't immediately realize it wasn't her own. From behind a tree stepped a figure, heavy, with a hard face, with hands that were always ready to strike, to grab, to seize by the collar and put on knees in the corner. The critic. By Basarka, said the critic. Filth, ragamuffin, you'll die in a ditch, like your mother. You're not me, said the girl. The critic smirked. I'm everything you know about yourself. Without me, you wouldn't have tried. Without me, you wouldn't have got up at 5 in the morning. I created you. I'm your backbone. If I fall silent, you'll fall apart. You walked ahead, said the girl. If I say I'm bad first, someone else's blow won't catch me off guard. You're not a sadist. You're a scout sent into danger first. You tried to protect. I see you. You're not my voice, said the girl. You're hers, the one who was also afraid, who was also beaten, who rolled stones at 9 years old. You're not the truth about me. You're her way of surviving, which she passed on to me, along with the name, along with the blood. The critic didn't leave, but Alcon half a step retreated, the way someone retreats whose power has for the first time been named as someone else's. From the bushes on the right, eyes were watching, large, round, with dilated pupils containing nothing but attention, ears, long, pressed to the back, body again pressed to the ground, every muscle finely taut. The hare. The first living creature in this forest. It breathed, it moved, it was afraid, but it was here. Stop, said the hare. It's dangerous here. Where exactly? Everywhere, always. I hear before others. Every rustle, every change in the silence. When footsteps sounded in the corridor, I heard first. When a bag was put down at the door, I could tell from the sound what the evening would be like. That's exhausting. The hare flinched, ears rose just slightly. It's the only thing I have. Without it, I'm dead. Are you tired? The hare blinked, slowly, closed its eyes for a moment, and in that closing there was so much exhaustion that she felt it in her own body. It helps to survive, it said. It doesn't help to live, but I don't know if living is possible. You're not paranoia, she said. You're a guard. You heard footsteps when I didn't yet understand what to be afraid of. You did the only thing you could. You warned me. You're not illness. You're survival. The hare stood, ears nabbed for the first time, thigh, not pressed down, just ears. It didn't want to go, but it went. Ahead, scanning, not from trust or from the impossibility of being afraid alone. Something flickered between the trees, reddish, fast, and disappeared, and again, closer. Something's watching us, said the hare. The fox came out herself, calmly, smoothly. Where are you going? Asked the fox. Further? Further isn't a direction, she smiled. Going straight is honest, and honest is predictable, and predictable is vulnerable. Better to go around. Show one thing, do another. Is that how you live? The fox stopped. Amber eyes, without cunning, without a mask. Once it worked, show how bad I feel, and then they come. But then they notice not you, but the pain. They come not to you, but to the pain, and you're left alone. And asking directly? Asking means they might not give, but if you go around, you'll definitely get something, at least a crumb. I don't know how to do it directly. Directly is going out naked. You sought connection the only way you knew, said the girl. If you couldn't ask, you earned it. If you couldn't show pain, you showed strength. You're not a deceiver. You're a negotiator without a vocabulary for honest conversation. She walked alongside, slightly to the side. not from trust or from the impossibility of going around alone. Something slid across the ground, thin, dark, soundless. The snake hadn't come from behind a tree, as it was already here, between the roots, along the path, dark, smooth, with scales that shimmered like water. The girl stopped, not from fear, from recognition. Something inside responded, quiet, rising from the pelvis upward along the spine, as if someone had pulled a thread that had been taut her whole life, and the thread didn't break, but trembled. "Have you been here long?" she asked. The snake didn't answer immediately. It moved slowly, along the girl's body and without touching, 2 centimeters from the skin, as if checking. Where open, where bound closed. "I'm older than you," the snake finally said. "I was here before words, before a name, before the first cry. I'm what moved when you couldn't yet walk." "Then why didn't I feel you?" "You did. Every time something rose from your belly and you pushed it down. Every time your body wanted to scream and you clenched your jaw. Every time you wanted to dance and you stood still. That was me. And every time you said to me no. I didn't know it was you. You knew. You thought it was danger. That if you let go, you'd destroy everything. You'd tear the room apart. You'd scream so that you couldn't stop. You would hit someone you couldn't hit." Pause. "And you were right," said the snake. "Back then, you were. At 4 years old, at 7, at 14, you couldn't let me go. There was no room. There were no hands that could hold you. You locked me away and survived. That was the only right answer to an impossible question. And now?" The snake stopped, raised its head, eyes without pupils, 2 stones reflecting the forest. "Now it's cramped," it said. "The skin is old, stiff, brittle. I grow inside it, and it won't let me out. And I'm in pain. And you, too. You feel it as spasms, as insomnia, as the impossibility of breathing fully. That's me, pressing against the walls of what you've coiled me into. What will happen if I let go? Pain, like labor. The skin will shed in tatters. You'll shake at night, wake from convulsions. Your body will do what you haven't allowed it to do for 35 years. Scream, arch, cry with a voice you won't recognize, childlike, animal, inhuman. You'll think you're going mad. You're not. That's me, shedding what has long become too tight, and you, along with me." Silence or and after? After, easier, not immediately, but each while is easier. Like after you've cried yourself out completely and fallen asleep, only not for one evening, forever. The snake slid closer, coiled around her ankle, not squeezing, not biting. Warmth, pulse, as if the earth were breathing through it. "I don't get tamed," said the snake. "I'm not a cat, not a hare. I'm force. You don't make friends with force. With force, you learn to be." They went on, the snake and along the path, not ahead, not behind, below, like a root that holds. Everyone stopped. The hare pressed to the ground. The fox stepped back. The perfectionist froze. The control, for the first time, Keen's hard fight couldn't compress the space, because the space compressed itself. A figure stood between the trees, motionless, without a face, without form. Simply a presence, heavy, oppressive, making you want to become smaller, to fall through the ground and not exist. Shame. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. It acted with its gaze, even though no eyes were visible. I see you, the girl said to Shame. You came a long time ago, when I was 3, or earlier. You came and said, something is wrong with you, not with the world, with you, and I believed you. Shame stood. I won't hide any more from what you show me, but I won't believe any more that it's the truth about me. Shame didn't leave, but he, half a step, retreated, the way someone retreats who has for the first time been called by name. From the darkness, a lunge. Black, small, furious, flew between them and Shame, hissed, arched its back. The kitten. Don't look at her like that, it yelled. Useless, it stepped back, breathing hard. Are you on my side? I'm on nobody's side. I don't need anyone. But you threw yourself at Shame. Because when someone looks at you like that, you want to die. And I don't want to die. I want to fight. Fighting is better than that other thing. What other thing? When you're small and wet and in a pit and you call out and no one comes, and then you stop calling out and you become mean, because mean is someone people are afraid of, and someone people are afraid of. They don't abandon. But they don't love either. I don't need love, yelled the kitten. I need not to be abandoned. I won't abandon you, she said. Everyone says that. But the voice was no longer mean. It was small, very small. You bit because when you were small, no one held you. You learned to be frightening because frightening ones don't get abandoned. You're not mean. You're alive. Being alive wasn't the problem. The problem was the place where there was no room for it. It didn't come closer, but it didn't leave either. It stood next to the hare, ready to fight, but alongside. From behind a tree stepped a figure with a stuffed mouth. It wasn't eating, it was filling. Every pause, every silence, every moment when the body stopped moving and the emptiness became audible. Not greed, hunger, not for food, for warmth, for the sensation of I exist. You were plugging a hole, said the girl. Not the kind you plug with food, the kind you plug with a mother. The glutton's figure slowed. Hands roped just slightly, stopped reaching for the next thing. It walked behind, silently, with empty hands, silent for the first time. And then they all noticed, a little way off between the trees, stood a figure in armor, not a knight's or a worker's, without decoration, without gaps, chest sealed completely. It moved precisely quickly without stopping. 12 hours, 7 days, without a break. Not because it wanted to, because while you're moving, you don't feel. It didn't complain. It couldn't. It worked until it wore down. Wearing down was nothing new. It had been looking for its heart its whole life. Thought it was in gold medals, in salary, in closed projects, and not letting anyone down. Didn't know the heart was not outside. You switched on when feeling became impossible, said the girl. You switched everything off, and I survived, but you walled up the heart along with the pain. The Iron Man didn't answer, but in the armor, at the place of the chest, a crack appeared, thin, like a fracture before something begins to open. It walked behind, slower than usual, as if the armor had become slightly heavier. Behind the kitten, in the shadow between the roots, sat another figure. Very small, almost invisible. transparent like morning light. On the wrist, a thin line of frost. A girl, about 2 years old, maybe younger. She wasn't crying, wasn't screaming. She simply sat and stared into the darkness, patiently, without hope, the way you wait for something that won't come. "Will she come?" she asked almost soundlessly. "Who?" "The one who smelled nice, the one who was warm, the one who was there and then stopped being there." "She won't come," said the girl, and her voice didn't waver on the outside, but inside or feet, everything wavered. "But I'm here," said the girl, and she sat down next to her and took the small, transparent hand in hers. The hand was cold, not like a child's, like ice that has been lying in the shade for a long time. The girl looked more carefully. The frost on the wrist went further, along the shoulder, along the back, across the whole body. On the outside, she looked alive, but inside, she was frozen, completely. "I did this," said Control. "For the first time, with a voice, I froze her, to save her, because if she had kept feeling, she wouldn't have survived." "And you paid more than anyone," said the girl quietly. "You became a prison so that I could survive." "I won't leave any more," she said to the little one. "Every day, every morning, even when the critic is already working and the kind voice is still asleep." She didn't let go of the hand, just breathed alongside, steadily, and after some times on one eyelash, a crystal of frost darkened. Didn't melt, darkened. The way ice darkens when water appears beneath it, water that isn't yet flowing, but which is already there. Then they noticed another figure. She stood with closed eyes, not because she was sleeping, because inside, behind her eyelids, there were no pictures, only darkness, for a long time, from the moment when the body had learned to switch off images, so as not to see what was impossible to see. "You're not looking?" asked the girl. "I know everything. I hear. I feel with my skin. I remember by touch. I just don't look. Because when I did look, I saw things that made me want to stop existing." "Can you open your eyes?" "I can. But right now, I don't want to." "You're not an ostrich," said the girl. "You're a witness who was given too much testimony. You closed your eyes not from cowardice, from the impossibility of taking it all in. That's different. Open them when you're ready. I'll describe what I see." The blind one smiled slightly, a crooked, uncertain smile. "Good. Walk alongside me." They walked, all of them, all tired. The voice from the emptiness, the first one from the very beginning of the forest, came again. "You see, it's not working. You don't have to go further." "Wait," said the girl. She stood in the middle of the forest, and for the first time she saw, not one part, but all of them, simultaneously. How the emptiness opens the door, and the voice of death enters. How the perfectionist rushes to close that door and takes control. How control squeezes tighter and tighter until it becomes impossible to breathe. How the capitulant is the first to fall. How the glutton stuffs its mouth so as not to hear the silence. How the voice of death returns, quieter but more certain. How a new plan is born from despair. How the plan accelerates too fast. How the breakdown. How again the emptiness. A circle, thousands of circles, she recognized every one. And then she saw something else. They weren't walking through a forest. through a cage. The forest wasn't a labyrinth. The forest was a cage, and she was carrying it with her. The cage wasn't outside, it was inside. I see, she said. I see the cycle, and I see the cage. I was walking in circles and didn't know I was walking in circles. Now I know. The phoenix landed on a branch, its feathers dimmed. Are you tired too? She asked. Every time you fall, I rise. Rising endlessly. That's also a form of endlessness. Sometimes I just want to sit. Then onward, sit. You've saved me so many times. The branch broke, yeah? And you lifted me. The balcony, and you. The knife, and you. Thank you. But today, it's okay not to burn. The feathers slowly dimmed, didn't disappear but became warm, like embers. Not fire, but warmth. Not a blaze, but a hearth. All the parts stood alongside, for the first time alongside. Not harmoniously, not peacefully, simply alongside. The hair was still pressing to the ground. The kitten was still hissing at shame. The perfectionist was still muttering a plan. The critic was still watching. The snake slid between them, quiet, warm. But no one was running away. No one was hiding. No one was attacking another. The girl looked at them all at once and felt something she had never felt. They were all her, not enemies, not brokenness, not a diagnosis. Her, holy, with all the teeth, claws, masks, and silences. And at that moment, from the silence, she heard water. She felt it before she heard it. Something pulled not forward, inward, the way the edge of a cliff pulls you, not because you want to fall, but because the edge is where the known ends. All the parts fell silent simultaneously. For the first time in the whole journey, silence without anxiety, simply silence. What's ahead? Asked the hare. I don't know, she said, but that way. Everyone heard at the same time. Water. Not noise, not sound. Quiet even, like the breathing of something very large. A river, said the hare, and stepped back. We can go around, said the fox.